Hi everyone, I'm Telly Tastes. I want to welcome you to this week's episode of Tasting Tuesday. I have a really exciting and rare wine find to share with you today. It's made from a grape variety known as Tintilia. Now, I've been tasting wine professionally for almost 25 years, and I can honestly say I don't think I've ever had a wine made from 100% Tintilia. Why is that? Well, let's find out. Before we do, let's travel over to Molise in southern Italy. I'm going to point to the map to show you where we're at. And we'll talk a little bit about this wine region called Molise and why we haven't tasted Tintilia until recently. Now, if you look at this, the blue here, that's all of Molise. Now, if you look at this region in here, this sub-region of Molise, that area is where we're going to find Tintilia. Now, first of all, with Molise is the entire area is a pretty rugged and rural wine growing region, mainly because it's up at the base of the Apennine Mountains. So the vineyards are in a very rugged terrain, so it's really hard to grow grapevines. It's not hard to grow grapevines, but it's hard to cultivate grapevines in mass production. So for one, Molise only is known for and only produces about 1% of the total production of wine made in Italy. So less than 1%, actually. And when it comes to Tintilia and why it's a rare grape variety, after World War II, when there was a higher demand for mass-produced wines, especially in the international marketplace, the local vintners grew wines that had more vigor and could produce higher yields. So you're dealing with stuff like Montepulciano and Sangiovese, for example. So the Tintilia grape, which when we go back through history and try to find its origin, we know it's been there for at least 200 years. We're not quite sure of the origin. We think it might be Spanish, it might be indigenous to Molise, but nonetheless, it went on extreme decline because they were looking for more highly productive grape varieties. So it almost went extinct. It went down to about only, they say, a handful of vines. And it wasn't until they recognized the quality of the grape variety and the Italians were looking for more international potential with high quality wines. Now we're talking about 80s, 90s to present. They realized the potential of Tintilia and have continued to cultivate the grape, and now kind of this revival of Tintilia. Another thing about Molise as the greater wine region didn't actually have DOC status, which means like a recognized wine region until the 60s, I want to say like 63. Tintilia as a grape variety wasn't allowed in Molise wines officially until the 90s. And another reason why we probably haven't tasted it is because the appellation, if you look here, Tintilia del Molise, didn't actually get DOC status until 2011. So extremely young for what's now an internationally recognized wine region. Let's taste this wine because I'm super excited about it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna decant it. Now, I always mention, I popped the wine first a couple hours ago just to make sure the bottle's not corked. And then put a cork back in it, put it to the side. But I will say, when I first popped this, I was super impressed with the complexity of this wine. And I am actually only gonna decant this wine because I want you to see the color. I think the wine drinks absolutely beautifully right out of the bottle. And I don't think you need to decant this. I will say that I don't think it'll hurt the wine, but this is my first time trying this particular wine, this grape variety for that matter, and from this particular producer. So I don't know how well it'll hold if we leave it aerating for a long time. So we're gonna taste this, we're gonna smell this, we're gonna talk about that, and then I'll just give you a little bit about the winery and the name of the wine. So right off the nose, I get like this deep, dark fruit, like prune, plum. I get like fig on the nose. I'm getting like black cherry. It's super complex. When I first popped it, had this little barnyard element, like this little rustic, what the Italians call selvaggio, which means like wild. It's a big wine. It's bold. It's rich. Those flavors carry on to the palate. It finishes with hints of like tobacco and tea leaf. All those dark flavors hit the palate. I still get a lot of the plum and the fig, and I get these warm spices. It's balanced. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's not a punch in the face. It's like all this explosive flavors, and then it just gentle like velvet just rolls off to the tip of your tongue, and you're left with all those flavors just hanging on the palate. So awesome wine, awesome wine. A little about, I was trying to find a little bit about the vinification. I don't have much on the vinification. All I could find is that they're hand picking the grapes. We're doing stainless steel vinification, and we have 2 years of oak, partial new, partial used. As far as the name Opalia, could be a play off of opal in reference to how dark the wine is. I also found out that Opalia is an ancient name of a festival that was dedicated to the goddess of agriculture in ancient Roman times. So very cool. They could be playing off of that. The vintage is 2015. The producer is Campi Valerio. They're a young. This is a young company. Have only been established since 2004. However, the vineyards have been there since the late 1800s. And again, we're talking about steep hillsides, high altitude. To be a wine with a Tintilia del Molise appellation has to be, I believe, at least 95% Tintilia. This one, I believe, is 100%. And it has to be from an elevation of over 200 meters above sea level. So they're really looking for that high elevation because they know that you get that big difference between hot daytime sun and then the cool nights to really to maintain the acid and balance in the wine. I'm going to end with some wine pairings. You plant-based people out there, I think this would be absolutely delicious with a black bean chili stew over wild rice with finished with like some sauteed delicata squash and some roasted cauliflower. I think that play on the almost like sweet and savory, but don't make your chili too spicy because you want the spice in this wine to shine through. But I think that kind of play between the squash has these hints of sweetness, and you get the spice and the chili and the richness from the black beans. I think it would be just absolutely delicious. And then meat lovers, I would go with braised lamb ribs, with slow, long braised lamb ribs. I'm talking like 6 hours. And I think with a fig barbecue sauce would be absolutely delicious. So where can you find this? In Colombia, I found it at Bottles. I believe it was around $25. That price for this wine, I mean, this wine quality-wise drinks like a $7,500 bottle of wine. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, until next time, cheers, chin chin, and siniamas. Enjoy the Italian wine.